What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. With that being said, man, you know what? Every time I listen to, now I'm kind of surprised at the guy Chris Broussard, right? But anytime I listen to Nick Wright talk about LeBron James, it's obvious to me that this guy is just, he just lap dance and giving LeBron James a lap dance and I don't know if he's on LeBron James if he's on the payroll or what. But this exchange between Chris Broussard and Nick Wright kind of I thought it was funny, and it's something that I wanted to play back because I definitely want to dispute this nonsense that they're talking about LeBron James. And so that's why I call these guys lap dancers, man, because they must be on LeBron James payroll because this is crazy, right? Now, listen to what Nick Wright says and Chris Broussard say about LeBron James and his legacy. And, check this out. And after I play this clip, I'm going to come back and give my input.
Was LeBron's last game with the Lakers? Was his tenure a success?
Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. And this is where I think there is such a wild double standard for LeBron compared to other contemporary stars. And I'm not even talking about the points record or anything with Bronny. I'm talking about his Lakers team success. Since LeBron's been with the Lakers, only the Celtics have the Lakers clearly beat in team success. No team's won more rings. No team's been to more finals. There hasn't been teams that have been like consistently in the finals. The Celtics have been to 2 finals and won 1. The Lakers are then tied for second with a bunch of other teams on been to 1 finals, won 1 championship. OKC obviously in a month might eclipse them. And then LeBron's, this is what I would ask. Has Jokic's career with Denver been a success? Has Giannis's career with Milwaukee been a success? Because
they have been better though than LeBron with the Lakers.
Well, here's what it is.
I don't see MVPs.
No. I'm talking about team success.
I know, but I'm just saying you got to factor that in.
No. But I'm talking. That's why I said I'm not even talking about the point record.
All right. So just check this out, right? Now they're comparing LeBron James to the Joker and Giannis and all those guys, right? Team success. And each one of those guys won 1 ring. So within the time that the Joker was with Denver, they won 1 ring, and Giannis won 1 ring in Milwaukee. So, like, what is the standard here, though? Like Michael Jordan wasn't chasing; he was chasing Larry Bird and Magic Johnson when he came in, right? And so that was the standard, but now, when he came in, you had Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler. All of those guys came in around the same time. So he's not worried about those guys or what they're doing. They stood in Mike's way, or if they was in his way, Mike ran over those guys to get his rings. But he wasn't chasing those guys or his contemporaries. He was chasing the generation that came before him because they had already set the bar, right? And so when you try to compare Giannis and the Joker to LeBron James, as far as team success, and each one of those guys had 1 ring, like what really are we talking about? And then if you really want to talk about team success, then why not bring Steph Curry into the argument? Steph Curry has 4 rings, right? And so I can see, if the argument or the conversation was like, all right, well, Steph Curry and LeBron James battled because both of those guys, they both had 4 rings. And so it's a toss up between Steph Curry, or the argument would be Steph Curry and LeBron James and not LeBron James. And, I just can't see you comparing that's like, all right, so back when Kobe played, you could compare Kobe Bryant to Tim Duncan because both of those guys played during the same era, and both of those guys had 4 rings, and they both kind of went like after, they went after it different ways. Kobe was more like flamboyant and more out there, where Tim Duncan was kind of like, blue collar and business like about what he did, right? But you could make an argument for those two guys, like who had the best career, right? But like I said, both of those guys had 5 rings. Now you're talking about LeBron James with 1 ring while he was with the Lakers, and then the Joker and Giannis 1 ring with their 2 prospective teams, right? So just that argument alone just lets me know that the bar is just so low, and if LeBron James is really in that GOAT conversation, then why would you even be comparing him to some guys who only had 1 ring? It's just crazy, man. And in my opinion, I think it's just to, it's just to have a certain narrative, or to paint LeBron James in a positive light. And so listen to the next comment that Nick, or this next discussion that Nick Wright and Chris Broussard have, and then I'm going to come back again and give my opinion on this.
The team success.
Yeah.
This is LeBron with the Lakers versus Joker, who's been with the Nuggets for 11 years. Giannis has been with the Bucks for 13 years. It's the same number of finals appearances, the same number of titles, the same number of conference finals appearances, roughly the same regular season win percentage, the playoff win-loss rate, 8 series wins, 10 series wins, 7 series won. Like, if the Lakers were not successful with LeBron, then what we're saying is in the last 8 years in the NBA, only the Celtics have been successful. Or maybe not them. Maybe nobody's been successful.
But the reason there's a double standard is he's LeBron. Like nobody else is in.
So again, here they go again, comparing LeBron James to some guys who really, like I said, like in the big scheme of things, when you talk about legacy and stuff like that, these guys, they're not really gonna, and I don't know, people think like the Joker, you can compare the Joker to Shaq, or you can compare the Joker to Hakeem Olajuwon, or any of the great centers who came before him. But I don't think it's the same discussion, right? And not because I'm not a fan of the Joker. It's just that this era of basketball for me has just been a down era. Like in my opinion, ever since Kobe has left the league, it's just been a down era. And that's with the exception of Steph Curry. Steph Curry got 4 rings. His career, in my opinion, Steph Curry's career has been like a throwback to the way old school franchise ball players used to do it. They used to stick with one team, right? And they used to, whatever, the ups and downs, they used to persevere, like one year we winning, and next year we get knocked out of the playoffs, but then we go back to the drawing board, right? And so that's what it was for everybody, with the exception of Michael Jordan, like Larry Bird and the Magic, and they didn't win. Like Magic didn't win 5 in a row. Larry Bird didn't win 3 in a row. Kobe didn't win 5 in a row, like all his championships in a row. Only one, Mike did 2 3-peats, right? But other than that, teams were like, they'll win or they'll repeat. I think Kobe and Shaquille, I think they 3-peated one time. They did 3-peat, right? So, but then they had to go back to the drawing board, right, and reinvent themselves and get better. Same thing with Magic, like they won a couple championships in a row. Then they had to go back to the drawing board. Larry Bird, same thing. And so that's why I say that Steph Curry, in my opinion, is a throwback to the old school basketball players, or basketball teams, and the way that they used to do things. LeBron James is not that. And so for LeBron James even to be in the same conversation with the Joker and Giannis, it just, in my opinion, it just proves that LeBron James is not the GOAT that everybody says he is. I think that, and it's evidence that you're lowering the bar when you compare him to people that didn't, that would not even be in a GOAT conversation. Like this last 10 years, what is this? from 2016 on up, I think, in my opinion, it's just this era was just a weak era. You know, some people might even go back further than that, but I say once Kobe retired from the NBA, it was just you know, it was starting to go down a little bit before him, but the way Kobe played, you know, it just, you know, and the passion they had for the game, people wasn't really, they didn't really notice like the decline of the league until, you know, until he left, in my opinion. So again, let's check out this next exchange between Chris Broussard and Nick Wright and see what they have to say again.
What
I'm not, but hold on.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say he wasn't successful. He was wildly successful with the Lakers. So I'm agreeing with you on that. But I'm just saying, yes.
First, let me interrupt right there. Like, how can you say LeBron James was wildly successful with the Lakers when year one they missed the playoffs, year two they won the bubble championship, right? And that comes with an asterisk. Year three they went out in the first round. LeBron's fourth year they missed the playoffs altogether. LeBron's fifth year, let me see. They got swept in the Western Conference Finals. His sixth year in the NBA, I mean with the Lakers, let me see, they got swept in the first round. His seventh year with the Lakers, 2025, let me see, swept in the first round. And this year, 2026, they got swept in the second round. So how can you say that's wildly successful? And then, so like I said, if you take 8 years of any franchise basketball player, any great franchise basketball player, you wouldn't see this type of like this would be mediocre, you know, except for if you're a Cleveland Cavalier fan and this is what your Cavaliers did, maybe you can get by in Cleveland with this, or maybe you can get by in DC with what LeBron James did in you know, what he did his 8 years in LA. Maybe you can get by in DC, Charlotte. But when you talk about the Lakers, you talk about the Spurs, when you talk about Chicago, who else? Even Golden State, you know, like that's, you know, like I said, when you talk about those teams, then you'll see how much of a slide that it was for, you know, for LeBron James, man. Let me see if I can find. All right. Let me see where I want to go here. 703.
I'm not, but hold on.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say he wasn't successful. He was wildly successful with the Lakers. So I'm agreeing with you on that. But I'm just saying, yes, that's a compliment to LeBron that there's a double standard. I'm not comparing you to freaking Nikola Jokic, as great as he is. I'm comparing you to Michael Jordan, yourself, Kareem, Matt, guys like that. So there's a double standard, yes. But I agree with you. It was wildly successful. I said before he went to LA, if you go there, you got to win a championship, because all the all-time greats except Elgin Baylor there won championships.
Yep.
He did do that. He also got, in accordance with the championship, Anthony Davis there. He became the all-time leading scorer there. That's nothing to sneeze at. He played with his son there, which is something we've never seen. The Lakers don't do big events, with all due respect, as well as the Knicks do. I've been around both teams. If he had played with...
All right, so yeah, that and Chris Broussard really just started lap dancing on that when he spoke about you know, he bringing in his son and he got Anthony Davis, and LeBron James's tenure in LA was wildly successful, right? And I just went over like what only thing LeBron did, and I'm not even gonna go back in the name. Only thing he did was win that bubble championship. That was it. Is, you know, I can't see, you know, and I don't understand why these guys are just like lap dancing for LeBron James, man. You know, maybe they on his payroll or whatever it is, but I just can't understand it. And so further into that same broadcast, and I should play it because they spoke about how LeBron James was not even the best Laker, right? So how are you, if you're not even the best Laker, how are you going to go down in history as one of the best basketball players ever when you're not even the best on, like in that organization? To me, it just don't make any sense. Let me see if I can find that here. All right.
Shaq fourth, Jerry West fifth, and then LeBron sixth.
LeBron becoming sixth is actually pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think that's
and it's ahead of Wilt.
Wilt was there only 5 years.
You're only counting what they did as Lakers.
Yeah,
that's why Kareem's down to third. I think you're totally right, Brew, that LeBron should be held to a higher standard than Jokic and Giannis. The point that and maybe I didn't say it, I just thought it. I don't think, past his prime LeBron should be held to a higher standard than prime Jokic and prime Giannis. That's the point
I
making.
agree with that.
And so, like, the Lakers...
That's why I like this getting sweat.
Yeah,
anybody that thinks
the
that
Lakers' tenure was the very end of what was left of his prime, and then still great, but past his prime. And there's just no team has been ripping off, these unbelievable runs over these last 8 years. And so it's made making 2 conference finals and winning 1 championship maybe more impressive than it would have been.
All right. Again, that tenure that he had in LA, his 8 years, in my opinion, that he's been there, 1 championship in 8 years, missing the playoffs a couple times, getting swept, a couple times. I don't know how these guys, these lap dancers, are thinking that it was wildly successful. Like I said, if he had an 8-year stretch like this with the Wizards, that's success. If you had an 8-year stretch like this and you're playing in, for the Charlotte Hornets, or you're playing for in 8 years, you're playing for what's any other team, but except for you can't get us to the Boston fans and they're gonna appreciate this. You can't give this 8-year stretch to the Los Angeles Lakers fans and they're gonna appreciate this. The Spurs fans won't appreciate this. Even at 8 years, like, you can't do this to now because of the success that Golden State has had. Like, this 8-year stretch that LeBron James had wouldn't fly in Golden State because their standard, their bar now is set higher than what LeBron James brought to the table for the Lakers. LeBron James actually lowered the bar. Like, the Lakers, and I can see why Laker fans are, really upset and pissed about this, man, because you had to really lower the bar and get these guys to come on and do a lap dance in order for for this to have some type of it's not even legitimacy, but to be able to get away with this kind of stuff, man, it's just crazy. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like, subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'm gonna check y'all out in the next video. Peace.